Imagine a group of nuns, not in the peaceful confines of a convent, but in the midst of crime and violence. Welcome to the world of the savage nuns of medieval France. A paradox, isn't it? Women of the cloth devoted to a life of prayer and service, engaged in acts of lawlessness. It's a story that's as intriguing as it is shocking. You might be picturing scenes from a movie or a work of fiction, but believe it or not, this history is as real as the parchment it was written on. Culled from the dusty corners of medieval archives, their story is a fascinating glimpse into a time when the sacred and the profane were not always mutually exclusive. It's a tale that's bound to challenge your preconceptions about the Middle Ages and about nuns in general. Now that we've set the stage, let's delve into the origin of these unconventional nuns. The Savage Nuns were not born out of thin air. Their story begins in the tumultuous times of the 12th century. Picture France in the 12th century, a land of kings and knights, but also a place of political upheaval and social change. The church was a dominant force, a beacon of stability amidst the chaos. In this era, a group of women sought the sanctuary of the church, desiring a life of piety and peace. They formed an unassuming community of nuns, dedicating their lives to prayer and service. However, the world outside the convent's walls was far from tranquil. Power struggles, religious disputes, and economic hardship were the order of the day. The nuns soon found themselves in a precarious position. The church, once their protector, became an oppressor. The clergy's interference in their spiritual practices and the imposition of stringent rules stifled their religious freedom. The nuns were cornered, with their faith on one side and an oppressive church on the other. Faced with these dire circumstances, the nuns made a drastic decision. They decided to rebel, to fight for their religious autonomy. It was a daring move, one that would forever change their lives and the perception of them. They became the Savage Nuns, a name that would echo through the annals of history. Their rebellion started subtly. They defied the church's rules, conducting their own spiritual practices in secret. But as the church's oppression intensified, so did their defiance. The nuns started to engage in acts that were unthinkable for women of their standing. They turned to banditry, using their ill-gotten gains to sustain their community and their fight for religious freedom. The transformation from devout nuns to hardened criminals was not an overnight process. It was a gradual shift, a desperate response to the stringent societal and religious norms of the 12th century. The Savage Nuns were the product of their time, a testament to the lengths people will go to protect their faith and freedom. They were not born out of thin air. They were born out of desperation, out of a desire for freedom, and out of a relentless spirit that refused to be broken. The transformation from devout nuns to hardened criminals was not overnight. It was a gradual process fueled by the circumstances of their time. From theft to violence, the Savage Nuns were not your average criminals. Indeed, their name is no mere hyperbole. These nuns were born out of the shadows of the cloister, their habits concealing a darker truth. Beneath the veils of piety, they were thieves, violent offenders, and, frighteningly enough, murderers. Yet their crimes were not random acts of rebellion against a life of chastity and obedience. No, these were carefully planned, meticulously orchestrated operations. Their first crime of note was a daring act of theft. They pilfered a significant stash of gold and jewels from the local bishop. The heist was executed with such precision that it left the authorities baffled, their only clue a discarded nun's habit. Next came the violence. The Savage Nuns developed a reputation for brutal, unprovoked attacks on traveling merchants. They would emerge from the shadows, disguised as destitute beggars, only to reveal their true nature in a flurry of violence. Their victims were left penniless and battered, the echoes of holy hymns still ringing in their ears. However, it was their acts of murder that truly marked the Savage Nuns as a force to be reckoned with. The most notorious of these was the assassination of a corrupt local official. This was no crime of passion. It was a calculated act of retribution. The official was found in his bedchamber, a rosary wrapped tightly around his neck, a chilling signature of the Savage Nuns. Yet it's crucial to understand that these were not mindless acts of violence. They were purposeful, strategic. The thefts funded their operations, the violence kept their enemies at bay, and the murders, well, those sent a clear message to anyone who dared challenge them. The Savage Nuns were not just criminals. They were smart, strategic, and ruthless. Their crimes were a testament to their cunning, a dark symphony played out in the underbelly of medieval France, conducted by those least expected, yet most feared, the Savage Nuns. The Savage Nuns were not just a group of criminals, they had a profound impact on the society and culture of medieval France. Let's delve into the ripple effect these audacious nuns had on the societal norms of their era. Medieval France, like much of Europe at the time, was dominated by a rigid feudal system. It was a society where the many were ruled by the few, where the voice of a commoner was often drowned in the clamor of the aristocracy. Enter the Savage Nuns, a band of women who, through their actions, began to challenge the very fabric of this system. Their audacious crimes were a stark contrast to the meek and obedient image of women prevalent in the society. They defied the conventional roles that were expected of them, not just as women, but as religious figures too. But their impact was not just limited to challenging societal norms. The Savage Nuns also became a symbol of resistance against the oppressive feudal system. As stories of their exploits spread, they began to inspire a sense of rebellion among the downtrodden. The common folk, who had long been silenced by the oppressive system, found their voice in the tales of these audacious nuns. This was a time when the concept of resistance was often met with harsh punishment. Yet the story of the Savage Nuns ignited a spark of defiance. Their tale became a beacon for those who yearned for a society where justice was not just the privilege of the few. Their influence was such that they not only instigated a subtle shift in societal norms, but also inspired countless tales of rebellion that were whispered in hushed tones in the darkened corners of taverns and homes. So while it's true that the Savage Nuns were indeed criminals, their legacy extends far beyond their crimes. They were catalysts of change, instigators of resistance, and inspirers of hope in a society that was desperately in need of it. The Savage Nuns were not just criminals, they were revolutionaries. Like all good things, the reign of the Savage Nuns too had to come to an end. The downfall of the Savage Nuns was not a sudden collapse, but a gradual decline, a series of events that slowly chipped away at their power and influence in medieval France. The first cracks in their armor were their violent methods. They ruled with an iron fist, their authority enforced by fear and intimidation. For a while this worked, instilling a sense of awe and dread that kept the populace in check. But violence begets violence, and their brutal regime began to inspire revolt among those they oppressed. In their thirst for power, the Savage Nuns had made numerous enemies. The local lords, who they had often clashed with, seized upon this growing discontent, rallying the people against the Savage Nuns. These lords, once divided, found a common cause in their opposition to the Savage Nuns, leading to their united front against the Bandit sisters. The final nail in the coffin was the intervention of the Church. The Savage Nuns' blatant disregard for the sanctity of their religious vows had not gone unnoticed. The Church, already wary of their growing influence, finally stepped in. The excommunication of the Savage Nuns sent a clear message. Their reign of terror would no longer be tolerated. Their downfall was not immediate. The Savage Nuns fought tooth and nail, clinging to power with the ferocity that had once earned them their fearsome reputation. But with the combined forces of the local lords, the populace, and the Church against them, their end was inevitable. The end of the Savage Nuns was marked by a period of unrest and chaos, a power vacuum left in the wake of their fall. But the dust eventually settled, giving way to a new era of relative peace and stability. The Savage Nuns may be gone, but their story is far from over. Despite their downfall, their legacy lived on, their story a chilling reminder of the power of fear, the allure of rebellion, and the eventual triumph of justice. The Savage Nuns left behind a legacy that continues to inspire and intrigue historians even today. Their story, steeped in audacity and rebellion, has been immortalized in literature and popular culture, serving as a symbol of resistance against oppressive societal norms. From novels to graphic novels, from stage plays to cinema, their tale has been retold in countless forms. Each interpretation offers a different lens through which to view these formidable women and their extraordinary journey. But their legacy extends beyond the realm of storytelling. The Savage Nuns continue to challenge our understanding of medieval society and the role of women within it. They disrupt the narrative of women as passive players, instead presenting a vivid image of women as active participants, even instigators, in the drama of history. The Savage Nuns were more than just a group of criminals. They were trailblazers, revolutionaries, and above all, women who dared to defy the norms of their time.